So we're going to type in some description information of what to really put in to this change order. So what I'm going to do is we're going to increase the quantity on one of these SMC parts that I've got, and then we're going to add something that currently wasn't modeled in Inventor. This could be anything. It could be grease, Loctite, packaging materials, pallets. These are things that designers aren't going to model, but are truly part of your bill of materials. I showed you this before. We have the ability to set a due date. We'll just set it for tomorrow. And now what we want to do is we want a reason for change. And the reason for change this time was a service request. The cost of the change, we'll just make up a number here. We'll say 20 bucks. Since we're going to be changing the quantity to 2 and also adding some existing parts, it's going to have no impact on inventory because we're really not modifying the geometry of a part, and there's no tooling change. When I go to the items, you can see that I'm currently dealing with my clamp assembly, and it's currently in a release state. And we'll come back to that in a second. In the status right now, I'm currently in the create state. So now what I want to do is I want to save this information so that I can begin the change order process. So we're going to save that, and then we're going to move this into the open state. And now you can see this particular item I've got right here, that short clamp assembly, has a change order related to it. So I'm just going to control click over that, and we're going to take a look at the change order, and I'm going to run through and do an edit on this. Now, in order to make any changes to this clamp assembly, I have to move it into a work in progress state. So we're going to do that right from this interface and say OK to that. And what it did is it was currently at rev dash, it automatically bumped the revision for me. So it's really automating the release cycle and the revision information for this particular item. So now I can actually go and make some changes to that. So we're just going to exit out of this. And we're going to go to that item, and I'm just going to type in the number here, 700, and go find that. So here's that item that we want to make some changes to. So now when I go into the edit command, I can do an edit on this and modify some information. So real quickly, I want to add some customer specifications that were sent to us, and I want to put that into this item. So we're going to do that just by going into the vault and grabbing some information. So we've got a Word document out there that defines some customer specifications that are associated with this assembly. I am able to view that very easily if I just right-click, View in Window. That's going to open up Microsoft Word for me. And it happens to be on my second monitor, so let me just bring that over. And all that is just intent, scope. It's really defining the specifications for that particular assembly. But really what I want to do now is I want to modify the bill of material. And in that change order, we wanted to add the cable tie kit. We also wanted to modify this SMC cylinder and change the quantity to 2. So what I want to do now is I want to add that new row. So I want to modify my bill of material, say Add New Row. And we're going to go search for something called cable tie kit. And you can see down here at the bottom, I now have that added to my bill of materials. Well, if I want to run some comparisons, I have a very easy interface to do that. I just want to compare this to the first revision. Say compare to that. And down here at the bottom, what you're going to notice is it shows me in blue that this row didn't exist at rev dash, or rev A, rev B, whatever I was comparing it to. Another thing that it did is it changed the quantity, telling me that that quantity for that SMC was changed to a number 2. Okay. So I can do a couple different things, and I can also remove information if I wanted to as well. So if for some reason I wanted to replace this with another part, maybe we changed vendors, I would be able to modify, remove, and add new rows based on those conditions. Now once we're happy with this change, we just run a save on this. And it's automatically added that attachment for me. If I go back to the General tab, you can see that that Word document's still there. But now we want to use the change order to automate the release again for this item. So we'll change over to the change order here. And you can see currently it's in an open state, sitting in the open state, and we're just going to submit and force approval again. I'll just submit this one more time and just show you how we go through the workflow. So if I was actually making a design change, I would be sitting in the work state, and now I could do some sort of design change. If I'm a manager, I have the ability to click on these cells and see who's done what. So in my routing, I've got a series of users, and I can use the status to see if they've done anything. And right now, I'm just a single user, and I don't want to log in and out as each one of these users. It can get kind of confusing. But as a manager, I can see who's done what in the change order process. So now what we want to do is we want to go through, and we want to make sure some of these changes were made. So I can use the Files interface here, and I can go through and look at the documents and then mark them up if I want to. In this case, we just modified the bill of materials, so we're just going to move on. So we're going to move it from the work state into the review state. So all I have to do now is go into my submit command, submit that for review. If I hit refresh here, anybody that's part of that change order process just received notification that they need to perform some action. You can turn on what's called unanimous routing. Currently that's off. And what that would mean is everybody has to hit approve. So Mary Manager would have to log in and approve this, and I would have to approve it before I can move on to the next state. We're just going to pretend again we're all happy with the change. So we're going to respond and we're going to approve this. But you can see I can reject it if I want, and it goes back into kind of a recycled state so that I need to add some more markups, whatever might have happened based on that rejection. In this case, we're happy with it, so we'll respond and approve it. Say OK to that, and now it sits in the approve area. The next thing would be to set the effectivity. So to do that, all I have to do is say set effectivity, say OK to that, and then define when I actually want to make that effective, and we're just going to make that today. And then it moves into the close state again. If I hit refresh, you'll see that it moves out of my work list, and it's currently in a closed state up here. Now, if I want to print a summary of this or any change order that I have, I just right-click on it and choose the Print Change Order Summary.